4 was hold 2 capper appointments per week. Number 5 was half of them won't show, so set 4 appointments per week. That's 3 conversations per day. And then number 6 was half of them won't answer, so that's 120 dials.
Every day?
Every month.
Oh, yeah. 120 dials every month.
Every day? Good golly.
That was nice. You know what?
Every day, I'm exhausted.
When Anna and I were in production, we made a lot of phone calls. So.
Who was he talking about? That letter at the end that somebody wrote about going to Baylor and mom and dad sitting on the beach.
I don't know. But it was good. It's a good call.
Court side seats.
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever it is smart because Golden State's they're.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyways, okay. Well, good. Well, we'll give everyone a few minutes here to hop on. While everyone's hopping on, let's hear some wins. What's going good right now?
I have a new team leader. I have a new team.
All right, Linda, that's great.
Woo!
That's great. Are we talking about Mr. Jeter?
You're talking about Chris Jeter.
Awesome.
Yay. And, Dana, I need you to reach out to him soon. It's unofficial. We haven't announced it to the agents yet, and we'll probably do that by the end of the week.
Can you, Linda, will you do me a favor and send me all his contact info in an email?
Gladly.
Thank you. I'll get with him today on getting a time schedule.
Okay.
And Linda, we just talked this morning about doing some really cool stuff. Here's one of the things we know. When new agents role, and KWRI is aware of this too, like there's not, I think we'd all agree, there's not a perfect system. Like in terms of like every team leader comes in and they get a different, depending on who the OP is, depending on what resources they give them, they kind of get like a different level of training. So Dana, Blair, and I were talking this morning. We're talking about doing a group for anyone who we're thinking is within their first 6 months of being a team leader. And to be honest with you, if any of your team leaders wanted to do this, we'd open it up to them too. But doing some sort of like weekly or biweekly call with them to really help invest in them and kind of get them proficient as quickly as possible. What do y'all think about that?
Great leverage. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good for them to hear others so they don't feel like they're all alone.
Yeah, that was the other thing we talked about is like having a group of them where they're all sort of new and they're all kind of figuring out together. It kind of creates a little bit of like exactly what you said, Linda. We're not in this alone, and at the same time, I think there'll be a little competitiveness with that. What drives people, right? Should drive our team leaders.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
Dana,
idea.
Dana, you like that, Sarah? Good. Okay. Dana, any thoughts on that you want to add?
No, I was just going to say that, when new team leaders come in, they walk into different market centers with different circumstances, with different situations, with different OPs and different leadership teams. So for me, I've been feeling a little bit like I can't treat them all as equal because they're really not. And so it's, and you don't want to coach down for those of us who have team leaders who've been in the role for a while and who are more seasoned in the role. Then they get, in my opinion, they need different things than what brand new ones do. So I think kind of having that first 6 months, if you will, group will be really good because then they'll all kind of be able to get on the same page. I can still really push and coach and help the top, and then those as well. I think it's something that's been needed, and I think they'll get a lot more value out of it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll let you know more on that as we kind of build that out. We're hoping to get rolling on it pretty quick, but that was kind of our initial. Real quick thoughts on the OP call. Any big ahas that y'all had on that call? Was that not awesome?
Yeah, it was a great call.
I love it when he dumbs it down and keeps it very simple. And if you just focus on that 20%, I just sat there and kind of went through, the last several years for several market centers. And it's, anywhere from 19.5% to 27% of company dollar is your owner profit annually. And that's just really simple. I like that.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Well, good. Well, we'll be talking a lot more about some of the things we talked about on the call at our OP Mastermind. So keep those notes handy. And if you didn't listen to that call, make sure you go back this week and catch the replay. It's going to be well worth your time. Blair, do you want to kick on the slides for today?
Yes, sure will.
So, like we said last week, our conversation today is going to be masterminding around training calendar. And Blair's got a few slides for us here that we're going to look at. And Blair, I'll let you kind of get that down here. So. Perfect. All right, Blair, you want to run through few quick reminders, and then we'll talk about Platform Revolution?
Yep. Okay, so reminders. Today by 5 p.m., your cultural ambassador applications are due. So those will be recognized at Mega Camp in August. So whoever you nominate needs to be willing and able to travel to Mega Camp. So if you could get with your MCAs, right now I have one office turned in. So if you could get with your MCAs and team leaders and make sure they get on that. May 10th, your growth packets are due from your MCAs. Those were the packets we used on your OP calls this month to go through your numbers. And those are going to be really crucial because beginning with April, we are going to start tracking regionally company dollar in and out and market share in and out. So please be sure to get with your MCAs and help me hold them accountable to getting those turned in on time. May 17th, your recruit cheat sheets are due for Fierce. I sent those out this morning. So several of you and or your team leaders had committed to a certain number of recruits that you're bringing to Fierce Conversations. So we need those sheets back. At this course, we're going to have like lanyards like you get at KWRI. They've got our logo on them and everything. So everyone's going to get a name badge at Fierce. And very subtly, we're going to have like a line that runs through them that's going to differentiate between leadership, agents, and recruits, just to help, Linda and Jimmy and Prez and Dana and I, kind of know who's who. May 21st, we have that OP only mastermind. That's going to be 9 to 12 at Prez's Community Partners Market Center in Dayton. And then right after that, we will leave and head to Southbrook Church and have our meeting from 1 to 4. And then, of course, May 22nd is Fierce Conversations. And when I did this slide, I think we've sold one more ticket. So we have like 11 tickets left. So make sure you have your tickets. Books are ordered. So once these tickets are gone, tickets are gone.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Blair.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's talk about Platform Revolution. Who wants to jumpstart? What did we do? We did 7 through 9 this week. And I'm going to be honest, y'all. This was a few of the chapter 7 and 8 were kind of hard reads, to be honest with you. There was a lot of they kind of got into the weeds, but I'm excited to share with you a few of my thoughts. I want to let y'all go first, but I picked out a few things that I think we could really relate back to our market centers that were pretty good for just thinking differently about relating a platform to a market center and things like that. But I'll open it up to anyone who wants to jump in first. What were some of your big takeaways from these chapters?
Real quick comment that I have is when they were talking about how when Facebook changed its open format to compete with, I don't know what the other one is.
MySpace.
What I thought was pretty interesting was just how fast all those apps got done. It was like 7,000 were done like by November. And for me, that was like a little bit of a mind shift. Like, okay, like this stuff that we're doing at the corporate level, we should see that type of an adaptation if nailed it. And it was just kind of exciting to know how fast it could go.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sarah. Also, something related to that I've kind of had an aha a couple weeks ago when I was talking with Josh just about our tech and our platform and everything we're doing. Understand that when you start building a platform and you start laying all the pieces together, think of it like building a market center. Like you start off, you don't always start off with a bang, right? Like our tech team is having to build each component of the product. And so, like, for example, when they build a button, they build that button, but that button becomes an asset. And then they put it over here in this file that says, like, here's all of our assets that we can use. So as the teams start working together more and start learning how to work together efficiently, and as they start building more and more, they can then go into that file and grab out key pieces and components and add it into the product really fast. So what you see is these platforms, they kind of like what we feel right now is like some progressions and some challenges with moving not that fast, but what you're going to see is it'll start moving really quick, moving faster because a lot of the pieces have already been built and they can take and reuse those quicker than having to build it from scratch. Does that make sense? Yeah, that was a big aha for me because I hadn't thought about our tech team. Understand they're a team too. Like they are having to learn how to work together and how to build all the components and put all the assets together. But great thoughts, Sarah. What else? Come on, surely more than just Sarah and I read the chapters.
Hey, kind of from my aspect as far as this, I'm really been a slow read for me, just processing this and putting the pieces together in that language. But I have to admit, it felt like as I got through chapter 9, some of those connections were being made, and maybe it helped that I was just out at International this week and some of that. But taking that back in front of like our agents and getting that engagement, I can tell that I am taking something away from this and being able to explain to them on a different level what this truly is going to mean for us as a company. I mean, that has been a huge connection piece for me, and being able to relate that to the agents.
Yeah, that's a great thought, Rhonda. And when you can go back to the Market Center and use some of these examples, like what Sarah said earlier with Facebook versus MySpace, and how MySpace had all the market share, and then Facebook came in, and how did they take market share when MySpace couldn't? That's because they opened up their system so that companies could innovate inside of Facebook with all these apps, and it shot them. You just saw the hockey stick. So like those things, to your point, Wanda, give you the ability to have conversations that your agents are going to be like, man, you're really smart. You know what you're talking about. Which, by the way, Rhonda, you were in Austin. Will you tell everyone what happened? You had a mega agent with you. Will you tell about that conversation, and then maybe just like one or two takeaways from your time with Gary?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that I told press that if I could do that every week, that was a game changer. We'd been in communication with this $16 million producer for the last 5 years, had very little traction in getting him to really anything that would have been major. He leaned over before Gary finished at lunch. He said, I've heard everything that I need to hear. My decision is made. And it was just a big aha for me, even that with everything that we have, the pieces were falling into place for him, because he's also hearing it from his company. Like, he's hearing that the changes are being made. He's with Century 21. He just came from their convention. So he was kind of fresh in his mind what his current company was doing, and saw something just at such a different level. And Gary's commitment to keep the agent at the center was a game changer for him, and that's who he said he wanted to be aligned with.
That's awesome, Rhonda. Great job.
But for team leaders, if we get this opportunity, and I know that you just sent that out, something for May 10th, do whatever it takes to get somebody there, because that is very hard to do across a recruiting table with everything they delivered in a 4 to 5 hour period.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like that opportunity, and in fact, the closing rate is the highest I've seen out of anything I've done with a recruit. Getting them in front of Gary is about a 75% likelihood that they join. So great job there. Okay, real quick, anyone have any one or two other thoughts they want to add on Platform Revolution? Okay, I wish we had more time to talk on this, but I want to leave plenty of time for us to mastermind around training calendars. I wanted to share a few quick things that I took away from the chapter, though, before we move on. The first one was this right here. It said in chapter 7, it's talking about the openness of a platform. It said, you should never let an outside firm control a primary source of user value on your platform. I want y'all to write that down real quick. Never let an outside firm control a primary source of user value on your platform. And what I want you to do is I want you to cross out platform and write Market Center. And I want you to think about that with your top agents. We should never let an outside firm control a primary source of user value in our Market Center. And what connected with me is a lot of our top agents get a lot of their value in training from Boomtown, Commissions Inc., some of these other technology companies, and that should be proof that, thank goodness, what Gary is doing for us, because the more value we can take back on the market center level, the more we have to offer agents, and the stickier we're going to become. So that was big for me. And then let's see what else here. This was a good one. Multi-sided platforms can be hard to navigate the rules of governance. You can't serve one side more than the other. This was in chapter 8, and they're talking about the importance of governance in a platform. And this was really helpful for me, because as you think about the consumer mobile app, every agent in our company would love for our mobile app to not have the feature of being able to switch agents. So, for example, inside of the mobile app, they're trying to make it as hard as possible, yet they have to give the ability for the consumer, if their experience with a KW agent is not good, for them to go in and switch agents that they're using. Now, most of us would be like, no, we don't want that, right? We want to have that ability turned off. But the truth is, when you're building a platform, you've got 2 users you have to serve, right? So we have to think about our consumer app in a way that serves both parties, and you can't tilt the scale too much in one favor, because if you do, then you make your platform less attractive for one user base. So as you're communicating with your agents about features inside of our products, especially the consumer app, as that comes out, think about that concept of multi-sided platforms. That was a big one for me. Another piece was Facebook oversees a population larger than China at 1.5 billion users. Google handles 64% of online searches in the US and over 90% in Europe. And Alibaba, which is like Amazon in China, accounts for 70% of all commercial shipments in China. I want y'all to think about the scale of that type of platform. I mean, that's massive. And I just thought that was some useful information. I can't remember, that's somewhere in chapter 8. But going back and using that to relate to agents about the scales of which these platforms build, and talking about how what our goal is to do that same thing as it relates to real estate, and talking about the land grab and the opportunity. That was a big one. This was another one that I really liked. One of the greatest assets of any platform is a dedicated community. And you could do the same, you could say that same thing, but say one of the greatest assets of any market center is a dedicated community. And so the question I was thinking about was, what are we doing to build a dedicated community inside of our market centers? I think that at KW, we naturally do that better than most. And at the same time, how can we do that as it relates around tech or training or any of the important components in our market centers? Then there was one, there's a lot more, but okay, 2 more I wanted to share. Great platforms allow transparency and participation to rule. Great platforms allow transparency and participation to rule. And again, you could say great market centers allow transparency and participation to rule. So how well do we create an environment in which transparency and participation is infused into our culture? And then the last one was this. They talked about in chapter 9, which everyone needs to go back and reread chapter 9. There's a lot of great stuff in that chapter. They talk about the 3 stages of a platform. There's the startup phase, the growth phase, and the maturity phase. And I thought this was so fascinating. In the 3rd phase, for the maturity phase of a platform, you know, instead of capitalizing on profits or anything like that, the recommendation it had for anyone that was in stage 3 was to drive innovation. And I thought about that as it relates to not only our market centers that are in the maturity phase, but also as it relates to KW. The most effective thing that we could do as a company is drive innovation at this point right now. Anyways, all great stuff. Fascinating read. I'm getting a lot out of this book, even though some of it's really can be quite drudging. Let's keep moving, Blair. Let's kind of look at the next part. Let's jump into our mastermind for today. All right, let's go one more. So I wanted to share this with all of you real quick. This is the training calendar for May from Sarah. What's her last name? Stevens?
Stevens. Mm-hmm.
who was on the call last week. Anyone can go onto KW Connect and download this. Dana, do you know what they need to type in to find that? I think I typed in her name.
Yeah, if you go just find her name, and then it should be under, well, I did it and now I don't have it pulled up. But yeah, if you just type in Sarah without an H, so Sara Stevens, STEPHENS on Connect, then it should be like under her, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
Her profile or
yeah, profile. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd encourage all of you to, number one, go download this to have something to talk about with your leadership team as you talk about training and how to make your training more effective. Real quick to note on here, anything that has a star on this, we said on the call, is for top agents, top 20%, right? So I don't really want to go into this right now, but I did want to leave this up while we talk and mastermind, because I think it might be helpful for some of us to kind of look at and identify. Hopefully you have your training calendar in front of you. You can kind of look at the differences. But the first question I want to ask around the mastermind is, what are the biggest challenges you have right now as it relates to training?
Hey, Prez, do you want me to keep this up on the screen, or do you want me to start typing notes on the screen?
Yeah, let's start typing notes.
Okay.
I forgot you were doing that. Thank you. We can come back to that if we need to.
Hey, and Press, just so everybody knows, Sarah is going to be on the team leaders Zoom next Monday, a week from today. So she's going to be with our team leaders, and so is her talent acquisitions manager that she mentioned on the call, so that they can they're answering any and all questions that our team leaders have about the training calendar.
So I love that. Great job, Dana. Here would be my thoughts. After this conversation today, I'd go back, OPs, with your team leaders and look at your training calendars and have a good mastermind with your staff. And maybe some of your top agents, your ALC, around the training calendar. And then any questions you have, have your team leaders bring that onto the call so they can pick their brain on execution or whatever specific questions you have. Awesome. So let's talk biggest challenge first. Just jump in if you got something.
Lack of training for top agents, for the mega agents.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, and attendance, getting them, once you do have that on the calendar, some of the feedback is they're getting a meteor calendar, but then making sure that the communication is good for the top agents.
Okay. So lack of training for top agents, attendance. And Rhonda, when you say attendance, is that more of they're not coming because they don't know about it, or is it they're not coming because it's not valuable, they're too busy?
I would probably say all of the above, but usually the feedback you get when they're asking is, one, they say they don't know about it, like have more training for us. So to me, I think it's almost, sometimes it's there and they are claiming to be too busy. So they say they don't see it. So I just feel like on our, how do we reach them better to communicate we've got something of value for them.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, what else?
Press, I know we don't leverage our training calendar for recruiting as well as we should. And so I think that's something else that we want to work on as we looked at our training calendar.
Yeah, that's a great one, Tim. How are we effectively using this for recruits as much as we are for our own people?
Chris, I'd love to hear how people are being successful doing peer-to-peer masterminds. We've tried here at Seven Hills, and they're going, but I don't know that people are getting crazy value out of it. And I'd love to be able to do that better, because then it's peer-to-peer versus having to be top-down.
Yeah. So have you guys already done a couple of those, and you're just not seeing it to be as valuable, Peter, or have you not even tried it yet?
Yeah, no, last year I led a mastermind for the top 20% in our office, and that was mediocre attendance at best. So maybe it's how I'm trying to do it that isn't working. But if anyone just has like a playbook on how they're creating and facilitating good masterminds where people are coming back, I would love to hear how that's working.
Well, let's jump into that thing, because I think that's a good one, because on my list of things I think we need to do better, more masterminds and effective masterminds is on there. So who on here thinks that they're crushing it with peer-to-peer masterminds, or has some good thoughts on what makes them effective?
Hey, Press, I don't have what I think is necessarily effective, other than it sounds like, Peter, that's not an isolated issue. We were looking the other day and talked with Adam Hergenrother. He only had 11 people show up for his mastermind in his market center.
Yeah.
And yet 2,500 people pack a room at family reunion for him, right? And so I think what's fascinating is that we get better turnout for people who are not in our own market and add a different voice than those who are already in our market center. So I think it's very in that medium.
There's so much truth to that, Eric, because Linda's next to me here, and she said you're never a prophet in your own backyard.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we had a lot of traction having Eric come into our market center, and it packed the house just having another outside voice.
Yep.
Because I think you have to be really careful when you're doing those masterminds that you do put a true leader in place, so that it, sometimes with the peer-to-peer, they end up being a complaining session. They don't get as much out of it if you don't put a high-minded person in there.
I agree totally on that one.
So as we're talking about this, I want everyone to write on your paper best practices, okay? Because we need to keep coming back to this idea of I like that. That should probably be on our best practice list. So part of what I heard is the effectiveness of using guest speakers in your peer-to-peer mastermind. And you also said it's got to be led by a strong leader, though, because you can't just let them lead it. A lot of times they don't take it. They'll take it to a complaint session instead of a productive time period.
Yeah, Press, I'd be curious, does anybody have an agenda with a topic kind of already assigned to that mastermind with questions or ideas that maybe make the time that they spend together more focused and more, I guess just more valuable. If you don't go in there knowing what you're going to talk about, then the conversation can be hijacked by the loudest person in the room, or to I think it was Eric's point, it becomes a bitch session.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
So this is not something that I'm doing well. However, Troy, this has been, I would say, one of his biggest strengths since putting him in the team leader role in consultants. He is crushing it with his mastermind in the market center, and recruits are coming. He's having between 3 and 7 recruits at every mastermind that he's having. He's broken it. So he's getting purposeful, Peter. And this is something I never thought of, and he just has totally taken it, and it's working. He's dividing up different masterminds. So they have one a month. So he has like one for the rainmakers, then one for the top 20%, then one for kind of everybody in the middle, in between. And then he has one for, I think it's 6 months or 12 months or less in the business. I can find out, but I'm not 100% sure. But they are presetting the topics. So basically it started by the very first one was just, hey, what are the things that you guys want to struggle with? But then he's having a peer in the market center kind of co-facilitate each one, because he was doing all of them. And I told him I only wanted him to really focus on the rainmakers in the top 20%, that he should be leveraging those others. So they've kind of come up with their own topics. So they talk about, like, their big topic has been technology. I think last month, I think that was actually 2 months worth. And then they're doing database, and then they do, listing scripts or whatever, but they kind of formulate the topic for the next meeting. And that's been working really well. And then he puts a mini panel together, I guess is what I would call it, where he's got maybe 3 to 4 people on the panel, like at the mastermind. So it's a panel mixed with a mastermind. They break into groups to mastermind, but they start with the panel, and the people on the panel are half KW, half not KW. So then those agents have been they've been inviting friends from their office, and they're like showing up and coming, and it's working really well.
That's great.
And are they doing it at the market center?
They're doing it at the market center. Yeah. And yeah. Yep. His goal is that it gets so big that they move outside of the market center, and, of course, more people come. But he's kind of hand selected like a couple of agents. in each of those categories that are really dialed in and crushing it. And then they're kind of, I would say, like co-facilitating, if you will. But that's, I mean, in my opinion, that's the best thing he's doing in that market center right now.
And then is that one mastermind per month for each of those 4 people?
Yep, they're making it a month. Yeah,
Monthly
they're making like a monthly reoccurrence. And then they're starting in May for the first time an ops manager / admin one also. So basically, yeah. So, and I think that's an awesome idea. That was something that the top 20% came up with at their mastermind last month.
Which by the way, I just want to add in, that's one of the easiest ways to get in relationship with megas in your area is to put together an admin or an ops manager mastermind. And then you and your team leader go call all the top agents and let them know, hey, I'm calling to let you know we're doing one. And I'd like to invite your ops manager or admin if you're okay with it, because I know you guys do a lot of business and we'd love to hear your perspective and thoughts, or maybe even be on the panel, whatever. Use that as an opportunity to get in relationship with them and their people at the same time.
That's a great idea.
Shouldn't this be pretty easy to find the topics that we would need for rainmakers? I mean, don't they all have the same problems, or at least it appears? And it's always like, the question I always get is the talent question. Is like, how do you go from one level to the next? And I keep saying we should be teaching like career visioning light or some sort of condensed version to our people, because that's such a drain on the market center staff and on our teams.
Absolutely. I mean, Peter, you've been to how many of Gary's top 100 meetings, and what's the topic of conversation every single time?
It's always about people. Always.
So to answer, Eric, absolutely. To answer your question, yes. And at the same time, I think there's power in doing exactly what Dana said, which is that first meeting, you allow everyone in the mastermind to set the agenda for the rest of the time period. They list off all their biggest issues, then you pick one in that next session. That's what you cover, and who's ever the leader needs to make sure that there's either a panel or a guest speaker who's going to be on that to add value, because again, that's what helps people coming back is, oh, we've got a guest speaker zooming in, or we've got so-and-so coming from a different market.
Maybe on the guest speaker.
Hold on, Linda's going to jump in real quick.
Sorry, I can't keep quiet over here. Maybe on the guest speaker even, let's say, for example, the week y'all were talking about admin topics.
Mm-hmm.
If all of you went together and got someone like Monica Reynolds to speak, but everybody who's doing the masterminds, every office that has a mastermind, Zoom in, use the same Zoom, and Monica or who's Jason
Brindley,
or anybody, whatever the topic is, you could have one really big hit speaker, but all of you use the same Zoom that month. So not 27 people are going out trying to get guest speakers.
Right.
You guys could get one guest speaker each month for whatever your main topic is, and everybody uses the same Zoom. So if you had your masterminds basically pretty much on days,
you'd have to coordinate that, which you could potentially do, especially if you're in similar markets. And again, but remember, you're going to go off the topics that everyone gives you.
Right.
So you'd have to align those.
Right. So so whatever, but let's say, for example, then all of a sudden you're using something you have in Keller Williams that if you've got guests there, they don't have access to people like Jason Abrams, or whoever else your guest speaker might be. They don't have access to those kind of people. So you're showing them that with Keller Williams, there's potential and power that even if they try to do their own masterminds, they wouldn't have those kind of things.
Yeah. That's good. Awesome.
Press, I can see if Blair we can share this, but I was just trying to find really quickly. We just did in consultants that he just did the how might we question. Then he put 3 questions up for the very first time, and it was super similar to what to what Sarah Stevens said that she did with her top 20% to figure out kind of what those topics were. Ours was just how might we create an atmosphere where we are the place to be for high functioning teams. How might we bring better leadership to our rainmakers so that they may run their businesses like true businesses? And then how might we provide value to rainmakers no matter what level of business their goals are to achieve in the next 5 years? And then basically just divided them up into groups, gave them a bunch of Post-it notes, and told them to come up with as many ideas as they possibly could on the Post-it notes. And then everybody kind of voted on like the 6 that were the best ones. And then that's how they came up with the topic. And he just changed the questions like for people new to the business, for admins in the business, and for like the, I don't know, what I would call like middle of the roaders.
Dana, can you send that to all of us?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to send it to me, Dana, I can include it with the slides after the call.
Yep, and I'll send you what their ideas were. I mean, I'm sure most rainmakers are all going to have the same ones.
So,
Yeah.
is Sarah still on the call?
Do what?
I think Sarah's still on the call.
Oh no, Sarah Stevens from the Growth Initiative call.
Gotcha.
Not our Sarah.
Not our Sarah. Sorry,
Not
Sarah.
this Sarah.
Not that Sarah.
So I wanted to share what Chris Harwood and I, after last week's calls with Sarah Stevens, we put together a Survey Monkey and we sent it out. It's due tomorrow, I think. We sent it out with just those top 3 questions. And then we focused it. So if anybody had an operations manager or admin, you know, the questions went to them, and then we're compiling that with the answers. So number 1, who can the office bring in for events and training? And number 2, what gaps do you have in your business that we can provide help with, provide you help with? And 3, what's missing in our training calendar that you will clear your time for? And it's interesting, the first responders are, it's all the same and similar topics. So I'm sure we'll all see the same stuff, but a lot of times it's leverage. I mean, that's one of the number 1 things from the rainmakers and the team leaders.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't change whether you're in Gary's top 100 or you know, starting to add people onto your team. At the end of the day, it's about talented people. And here's the thing, though. Here's what I want us to think about. To Eric's point, we got to be teaching this in the market center in some way.
Yeah.
So who most likely the team leader and or the OP is going to be, you know, and some of our top agents have to understand the material at such a great level that they can actually teach it and mastermind around it with our people.
Press.
Go ahead.
One of the ahas I think I recently had within the last week or so in meeting with some higher level producers is I think that our top achievers want more than just business development. They also want personal development, like in a holistic way, in that when you think about what Quantum Leap is, right, it touches on a lot of personal perspectives. That's something I think we overlook in training our people on is their personal development, spiritual development, etc., because we're so focused on business development. And that's been glaringly obvious to me in the last week or so.
That's funny you say that, Eric, because on our Rainmakers, that was one of the biggest things they talked about was more like motivational, personal type growth stuff that they wanted. It was that, and then like P&L help, I think, were their big 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, look at me joining and paying monthly to join the group for personal development and accountability, right? I mean, if we could create that culture that our people didn't have to go seek elsewhere.
Great point, Eric.
I think that is a big deal. It's something that the Market Center 613 that had really good luck with some of the Mark Divine stuff. They're starting to get that woven in, and it's been people have latched onto it, and it's still kind of developmental. We've got a pilot class going, I think, on the 13th with some folks in the Market Center, but looks like that's going to get some good traction.
Sarah, what was that called?
It's the stuff that Mark Divine teaches, the Unbeatable Mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people have been really excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Jamie went and got certified in his program to be an instructor of sorts, or a coach or a trainer, I think. Isn't that right, Sarah?
Yeah, I think that they finish it up next month, so it's still, it's not done yet, but just in some of the modules that we did out west, just bringing some of that in, it's been received really well.
Yeah. Well, here's what I believe. You teach people about business and you change their business. You teach people about personal development and you change their life.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about Gary Keller, here's the thing I want us to think about. Gary Keller is a great role model to us. And why is he so effective at what he does? Because he's a great trainer. He's a great teacher. What I want us to think about is, are we being great teachers and great trainers in our market centers? Because if it's, I just tell you, I was part of the gross market share task force. One of my big ahas is some of our best team leaders in this company are great teachers. They're teaching on a regular basis. And that doesn't mean it takes them away from their activities. They're purposeful about when they teach. They're bringing recruits in the room with them, right? So they're being effective. And something else that I was really I was thinking about this last night. I was talking with Anna, and I said, Anna, do you feel like sometimes we recruit people into this company on this idea and this promise that we're going to help change your business, change your life, and then we kind of like we get them in the door and we're like, pat you on the butt, good luck, see you later. I'm on to the next appointment. And she said her response to me was absolutely. Yep. She said it's one of the things that bothers me the most. And y'all, that really bothers me. Like I was thinking about that I put my investor hat on for a second. As an investor in that market center, that's part of that's on me. Like I got to step up as an investor and make sure that's not happening. Like what's our plan for these people? And it's got to be based on we can't meet with everyone one-on-one every single day, but we can do great things on our training calendar to add more value. But I don't know if y'all thought about that, but that hit me real hard last night.
Very true.
It's a very common feeling among our team leaders if they're honest with us.
Yeah. So we got to think about OPs. What can we do to help up our game on our training calendar? Because I think that's a great place to start to leverage our time. But we got to teach the right classes. So can we talk around like what classes are highly effective and do we need to be doing more of, and which ones do we need to maybe do less of, not teach? Like what classes are you teaching right now in your market center that are highly effective?
Press, Justin just ran a mastermind on Friday of people who are interested in investing in real estate, and he had 47 people show up for that first mastermind, which is probably the best attendance we've had on about anything for a while. So we really felt like that was a higher level of offering as far as training and education. It certainly seemed to resonate with our group.
What did he teach? Did he teach hold?
Pardon me?
What material did he teach in that class?
You know what? I don't even know. I'll ask him and see. He just texted me and said, man, we had 47 people show up, and he got a rundown of all the different topics that they were interested in discussing. So I'll also send you that. It was pretty amazing.
Well, I guess it was a mastermind, so he really didn't teach as much as he did facilitate, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll send the list of things that came up from that group, but our top people showed up for that, and some of them haven't shown up for anything for quite a while.
Well, and that's a great point, Kim. I want us all to think about this. When we help our teams sell another house, it may not be as effective when we help our top agents build wealth in their life.
So on top of that, that's what I was about to say here. I've been teaching wealth building in all the market centers, and the class is packed. And I think we've just kind of maybe burn them out on some team building stuff.
Yeah.
And they need a little change of pace. And so I taught hold, a little bit of hold, Linda's stuff in there, and then some off my hip that I just know. So, and then I did a flipping class too.
Hey, Jimmy just said Linda's hold.
Okay, Jimmy's hold. Hello, Jimmy.
Hey, if anyone wants that PowerPoint, will you shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get that whole PowerPoint if that's something you want to teach. That's funny. Okay, I think, guys, this is good. This is really good. We got to think about how are we helping our top people with wealth building. And here's what I know. Our lower producers will show up for that too.
That's right. Kellyanne, did you have a slide deck that you worked off on that, or were you just sort of winging it?
Man, I do a really good job of winging things sometimes. I'm being honest, but
I'm sure you're the only one on the call that does that.
Yeah. Right.
I have notes I could send you of what I went off of to teach that class.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if you don't mind.
And then they begged me, like it was only supposed to be an hour. We went 10 minutes over because I had another appointment. And then they begged me to do the flipping class. Same thing happened in Elizabethtown. I haven't done it in Columbus yet. But it's, I didn't realize, honestly, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and was like, man, why have I not been driving this into their heads over the past 3 years? Like, shame on me because of how many people showed up. So.
You know, that's great. Thank you, Kellyanne. You know, Press, I was thinking when we first got started here, we have a checklist that we do for every calendar, and I guess we got away with this, and I'm glad we're doing this exercise because it's called my attention. But we made sure we did a full day KWU class once a month. And when we first got started, we got killer traffic on that. So, you know, whether it was win-win negotiations or seller mastery or quantum leap or whatever, that was great. And with enough messaging ahead of time, we got really good traction on those. And that was good for inviting guests as well. But it also takes commitment, and also you have to have people that have gone through train the presenter that also know how to present well and will prep properly. Otherwise, you're just burning out your OP and your TL doing that.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. It's a great point. But also, Peter, what that brings to light is if you don't have people who are pursuing being an instructor in the Market Center, I would be willing to bet that it's not because you don't have people who want to be instructors. It's because we're not talking about that as an opportunity for people.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Mm-hmm.
Peter, because I bet you have people in your Market Center who want to do that because that's what you have done, right? And so you talk about it and they see that as an opportunity for them, right? We look at the opportunity map, and one of those is being an instructor in this company.
Yeah, that's right.
We talk about that with people.
Could I share an idea of something I did while I was a team leader to build up that program?
Please.
The training programs, we gave away a family reunion ticket to an instructor, and it lasted for 6 months. So for the training calendar, let's say in March, the instructor who had the largest amount of attendance signed into the training tracker, then their name was thrown into a hat. And then we did that in April, and then we did that in May, and then we did that in June. We did it for 6 months. And so we had 6 people that had their name in the hat for a family reunion ticket. And man, they beat up the bushes trying to get people there. They wanted to make sure they had a great program. They had, we were filling the rooms up for 6 months. And by then we had a great track record. Our training trackers were full. We had great participation. They were using social media. They were allowed to they got bonus points if their attendees were from other companies. So that encouraged them to recruit get people to attend from within, like, if you brought somebody from another company, that was counted like 2 people versus 1 person. So it really beefed up our training program.
Linda, I remember when you did that, and that was awesome.
It was great.
Share all that criteria with us. Can you share that? Can you share all that, that program with us?
Yeah. I can
like, do you have it written down somewhere? Or?
Not really, but I could easily.
Okay, write it down for us.
Could you? I can't write as fast as you can talk, so.
I'll be glad. I'll shoot something to Blair.
All right. Thanks, Linda.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome, Linda. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so here's what I've got so far in terms of my big takeaways. Number 1, all of us should survey our people to find out what their gaps are and what their needs are. Number 2, we got to be holding masterminds. Masterminds are a big must right now, and I think we're moving into a time in which we're talking about with tech more one-to-one experience. Mastermind kind of accomplishes that, right? Because we get to lump what people's specific needs are together and mastermind around it. Number 3 is teach wealth building to our top people. We got to be doing that. Any other big takeaways that y'all have so far? That's the big ones I've got so far.
Hey, Chris, one of the things that I've been really thinking about lately, because I hold a team meeting with our team every Monday, of course, and we go through some like admin reminder type stuff for the first 20-30 minutes, and then the rest of it is usually I teach for an hour. And a lot of our teaching is really on personal development or mindset development.
Yep.
And we went from the agents I have on the team had only pended 4 transactions in January, and then we lost our top two agents, and those same agents who only did 4 deals in January did 41 last month. And the only thing that changed was I wasn't teaching and training in the beginning of the year. I had replaced myself, and I took that role back. Well, I got to looking through Quantum Leap again, and Adam and I have been talking a lot about it because he and Gary have been talking about it, like owning your buckets. And so in Quantum Leap, Gary talks about owning your 6 buckets of like self, spiritual, physical, time, money, and growth. And I thought, like, how do we break out our Monday training calendar to every 6 weeks talk about one of those 6 buckets that Gary put such an emphasis on? So how do we talk about the mindset habit of self, or a prayer and meditation habit the next week? And because knowing that once our mindset is right, selling is pretty easy once you think about it the right way. We don't need to be teaching real estate sales scripts. We need to just be teaching people to get in the right mindset of practicing a habit.
I love that, Eric. And to be honest with you, I'm a firm believer that part of what we have to do is not only be the best at teaching real estate related topics, we also have to communicate differently than anywhere else. And so when you're teaching things like that, and someone goes to a different office, they will feel a difference because they're not going to get any of that at another real estate office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and to piggyback on what Eric said, he and I talked this weekend, and he commented that he had multiple team members from other teams contact him wanting to join his team. And when we talked about the main reason for that, it wasn't because of leads, which is what you might automatically jump to. It was that the agent wasn't investing in those team members. And I think how powerful could it be for us to pour into our lead agents at a level and then demonstrate what that looks like for them to pour into their team members, because retention is always an issue for these lead agents, and to help them understand what might help them keep great people would be a game changer for them.
Great one, Kim.
Is anyone teaching anything culture, like 6 personal perspectives?
Should be. You know, to be honest with you, Linda, I really think that number one, yes, we should be teaching that. And number 2, I think for some of us who aren't, if you're not teaching it yet, a simple thing you could do is any class that's taught, any class that used to be taught, we added one of the 6 personal perspectives at least to the beginning of the class. So if you're not teaching that right now, at least add it to what's already being taught, or add it to the beginning of your office meeting. But
Prez, that's a really great class for your MCAs to get involved with teaching. I taught it at Greater Lexington.
Yeah,
It's a great idea. That's hey, and to be honest with you, OPs, part of your job as a leader is to push your people, right? So for some of your MCAs, that may be a push for them. A positive.
Chris, the only thing I would add that we haven't said is just the tech. I mean, that's been pretty much the only thing I've been teaching in my offices and in some of y'all's market centers that I'm coming to teach it into. And I just think dumbing it down, but we've got to be teaching that at a really high level.
Dana, what do you think is effective around that? What are you seeing that's effective?
The biggest thing that I've seen is just having them actually understand what an industrial revolution is and how this is truly affecting us. And like I completely don't even start with command, but with everything else, so that they know like this is real life. And they've got to understand. I found that they have to understand where we truly are and why we are here before they're ever going to get like command and figuring out putting their addresses in and all that stuff. They've got to understand like, okay, this is, we're in a 4th industrial revolution and everything is changing. But that's probably been the biggest thing I've been having. Like we just did one upstairs just now and I left early and had someone else finish it. But I mean, in Richmond, we have, 70 agents and I have 30 upstairs for this tech training right now. and we just passed out the cheat sheet, that Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble cheat sheet, and we're going like enter by enter by enter so that they can actually understand it and get it.
That's great, Dana. Anyone have any other thoughts to add on tech? Okay. Any other last minute challenges or anything you want to address around training before we hop off the call today?
We get a copy of these slides?
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, the last thing I would say here, OPs, is are you teaching, and also as important, if not more important, is your team leader teaching in the market center and being purposeful about what they're teaching and who they're teaching it to. I believe I've looked at enough team leaders to know that highly successful ones are teachers at heart. They're influencers, and a part of influence is teaching. And I would just challenge all of you that really take a look at your team leaders. Are they teaching effective classes in the market center? And the way you know if they're effective or not is probably by if people are showing up. They're not showing up, then either they're not a great teacher or they don't have a good system around getting people to show up. And so both of those are things we can work on with our team leaders.
Hey, Press, one of the things that occurred to me was that we're not leveraging our top level talent to teach in market centers, and not necessarily in our own market centers, but maybe in market centers across town.
Yeah.
Kind of to Rhonda's point earlier, there was a much better turnout at her market center for when I taught than what I would get at Northeast or West. And so when you're not a fresh face, then people will show up for you, and that's a massive amount of impact and value. There was a girl in Rhonda's market center that pinned three transactions recently from a training I taught. That's basically a full cap equivalent that she got back by showing up to one training.
Yeah.
And you know, Christy Smith teaches her listing presentation, and who else is doing that?
The T2, tracking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Press, I just wanted to let the OPs know that I have been really encouraging the team leaders that they need to be teaching profit share in their market centers. That's been like a big topic for us. Just all of the top 10 team leaders in the country, every one of them said from our slides from that survey that you and Bruce did, Press, that they taught profit share in their market center.
I love that, Dana. And in addition to that, here's what I challenge the OPs. I challenge all of you to go back and do this with your team leader. In your next one-on-one meeting with them, I want you to sit down and say, okay, show me who on the ALC are we working with on the disappearing cap right now. Because here's what I know that we did. We threw out the concept of disappearing cap like a net. And what we should have done is we should have shot it out like a sniper. What I mean by that is your team leader's got to get one-on-one with each person on the ALC about disappearing cap, not throwing a net out saying, hey, if anyone wants to take part in this, because they don't know what top people don't know what to do. So I want y'all to think about that. How can I'd go ask that to your team leaders. What you're going to find is they're probably not working specifically with their ALC or some of the top agents on disappearing cap, and they should be. That's such an easy conversation to have with your top people about their wealth. Okay, any last minute thoughts?
I have one thing to add. Has anybody read this book, or am I the last person to read it on the planet? The one that Gary suggested, 13 Fatal Errors Managers Make and How You Can Avoid Them?
I haven't read it yet either. It's on my list.
Well, I stayed up until 2:30 last night and read half of it. I would highly encourage. It is like old school, powerful. I could not believe I've never read this book. And I just wanted to share it with you all because it's really, really, really good. It's like a quick read too.
Awesome. That may need to be one of our reads we do as a group.
It's great.
Awesome.
For us especially.
Linda said, I got it right here. Linda said he's been recommending it for over 25 years, and he told us at the RD meeting that this is the only leadership management book he reads.
I literally believe it because I could not put it down. I was wanting to go to sleep, but I just even couldn't because I wanted to keep reading. It's fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, y'all, was this valuable today?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Okay. Here's how we'll know it's valuable. You guys go back and implement something. So go have great conversations with your leadership team, and let's make our training calendars world class. This should be hands down the best training in our city. So appreciate all y'all. Have a great week. Call me if you need me.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.